everyone, and welcome to my session, From the Ground Up, Solving Content Redesign Challenges with the AEM Guides CMS. My name is Marco Cacciacaro, and I am a Docs Manager and Senior Tech Writer at BlackBerry, based in Waterloo, Ontario, Canada. Just mentioning the word BlackBerry brings up some immediate thoughts and questions, so I'll try to answer those right off the bat. Yes, BlackBerry is still around, and no, we are no longer in the business of phones. My team, Enterprise Docs, has always created customer documentation for the enterprise-grade software that BlackBerry offers to increase productivity and protect corporate data and users. If you'll indulge me for just a moment, I'd like to show a very quick video to give you an idea of what BlackBerry is all about these days.
Since day one, we've been determined to change the world. Our devices placed the office in the palm of your hand and changed how we work, forever. Our vision has expanded. Now we're pairing artificial intelligence with our trusted security and putting it everywhere. For too long, security was about what you stopped, but the Internet of Things is making everything smarter, including cyber threats. We've never been more connected or more vulnerable. As ransomware and cybercrime explode, security needs to do more. It needs to stay ahead of threats. It needs to keep you safe. It needs to be intelligent. Prevention is the best medicine. This is especially true for IT systems. Much like vaccines prevent infection, our intelligent security is a prevention-first approach that stops cyber attacks before they can launch. If there is a breach, we have remediation solutions and services ready and in place. We help our customers solve their most critical security challenges. We protect more than 500 million endpoints, including over 195 million cars. We have design wins with 23 of the top 25 electric vehicle OEMs, ensuring vehicle safety and security. 45 of Fortune 100 companies trust us with their security. Our security is NIAP certified as classified. It is the highest security level awarded for government and industry. While cybersecurity lets you stop threats, intelligent security gives you the freedom to reach higher, go further, and dream bigger. BlackBerry Intelligent Security lets you change the world again.
So as you can tell from the video, it's a very exciting time for BlackBerry because in the last few years, we have introduced new products in the zero trust market space that use AI and machine learning to detect and respond to cyber threats in real time. These new products are directly related to several content challenges that will be the focus of my presentation today. To give some very brief background, in 2019, BlackBerry acquired Cylance, a respected software security company. This brought two important products into the BlackBerry fold, Protect Desktop and Optics. These desktop apps keep devices secure by proactively identifying and eliminating malware and other threats. Our customers as IT admins manage these products using a single web-based console. Throughout late 2020 into 2021, BlackBerry released new products managed through the same console to extend that type of zero trust protection to mobile devices, network connections, and user authentication methods. These products are Protect Mobile, Gateway, and Persona Desktop. Each of these products had its own doc set produced by Cylance writers that we inherited or by members of our core BlackBerry Docs team. As a result, each doc set had its own structure and style. In early 2021, there was a real push in the company to stop discussing these offerings as different products, but rather to treat them as features of a larger solution that meets all security needs. This overall solution would be known as BlackBerry UES, the UES standing for Unified Endpoint Security. For us in Docs, this presented an exciting challenge. We had to take 5 separate doc sets and redesign them from the ground up to create a unified doc set that would meet the needs of all UES customers. We were up to the challenge because we understood the value of this idea. It would provide a one-stop shop for all help info, it would simplify the setup process for new customers, and it would allow us to do a better job of addressing the connection points and relationships between the products. My session today will focus on 5 specific content challenges that my team faced and how we use the features of DITA, the Adobe Experience Manager platform, and the AEM Guides CMS, formerly known as XML Documentation for AEM, and I'm very happy about the rebrand, to solve those challenges. Challenge number 1, getting on the same page. The Protect desktop and optics docs that we inherited from Cylance were migrated into our AEM CMS from Madcap Flare. That took care of converting the content into DITA, but the style and structure of the content was dramatically different from the standards that our BlackBerry writers had been using for years. The docs for Protect Mobile, Gateway, and Persona Desktop were closer together in style as they were created by longtime members of our team, but they still had some differences based on the decisions made by those writers. We were faced with the challenge of resolving these differences and revising existing content to create new docs with a consistent structure and voice. Conrefs were a valuable tool that we leveraged. We've used Conrefs for many years for product names as they offer an efficient way to manage branding changes. We aligned with the latest UES branding decisions, finalized the conrefs to use throughout our content for first instance and subsequent instances. So for example, in the first instance, we use the full conref, BlackBerry Gateway, and then for subsequent instances, we have an abbreviated conref, just Gateway. And we completed a thorough QA review of all of our DITA topics to ensure that conrefs were used consistently. In the topics that were migrated over from Madcap, we updated conrefs where necessary to reflect the latest branding decisions and effectively bring those docs and topics up to date. To achieve consistency across the new UES docs, we worked together to define new DITA templates for specific types of content. The use of these templates enforced a common voice and style across the UES topics. For example, the standalone docs for each product had always included conceptual information to explain what the product is and what it does, but the presentation of that content varied from guide to guide. For the unified docs, we used a specific flow of topics to convey conceptual information in an effective, consistent way. And this involved the use of a series of templates across all of the different products that we discuss to make sure the information is always presented in an effective, consistent way. So what I've opened here is the overview doc from the UES Unified Doc Set, and I've zeroed in on a specific section for the product BlackBerry Optics. So as you can tell, it opens up with what we call a what is concept that explains what the product does and the value that it offers. It is then followed by a key features reference topic that details the product's value propositions in a neat table format. This is then followed by an architecture topic that uses an image paired with a table and descriptions within the table to clarify the cloud and local components of the product. And where applicable, certain sections also include a data flow reference or multiple data flow references that explain how UES sends and receives data through the cloud, server, and local components, and uses kind of a numbered structure paired with an ordered list to clarify the movement of data through the solution. The release notes for each product offered a similar challenge, as the content and organization varied greatly. We came up with a new template and structure that presented the release notes info for each product within the same document. So once again, I'll show that on our live site, the end product of our work and the templates that we established. So it's a single unified release notes document with a dedicated section for each product in the larger UES suite. And we're zeroed in here on the Protect Mobile section. And each section opens up with what we call a what's new topic, which is a concept that lists the new features and when they were released, with the descriptions including a link to our other UES guides for more detailed information. This is then followed by reference topics that detail fixed and known issues using a standardized table format. This overall structure offers a clean reference document that anyone can consult for the latest info across the UES solution. My last example demonstrates how the unified docs gave us new opportunities to address the commonalities of the UES products. The old standalone docs were scoped to that product only, even though multiple products could be managed via the same screen in the UI. We created new templates for management tasks that clarified all of the actions you could perform on a specific screen across different products. And I will actually show you an example of that, not just on our not on our public website, but actually within the authoring tool itself. Let me just flip here into edit mode and turn on the tags on view to give a better appreciation of the elements that we used. So this is a new task template that we developed for specific types of tasks that zero in on a specific portion of the UI, in this case, the menu, assets, devices. And using a task table format, it breaks down all of the tasks you can perform, not just for one specific product, but for two related products, where there's one screen where you can do many different things, some of them impacting only one product, some of them impacting both products. So tasks like this and the use of templates like this help to get across the idea that we are offering a full comprehensive solution with related products and features. Another key action our team took in getting everything on the same page was to identify differences in how we were presenting the same types of content and making specific style decisions for how to use data elements. These discussions resulted in new standards that directly influenced our use of data. Some examples. We noticed that inherited silence content had a tendency to overuse note elements. We pared down the use of notes to enforce the idea that this element should only be used to highlight crucial information. Some of the inherited content featured a mixture of concept, task, and reference information within the same topic, largely because it was not originally authored in DITA, but converted to it as part of the migration effort. We revised the content where necessary to make sure each topic was clearly presented as a concept, task, or reference. Tables were formatted and presented differently across the standalone docs. In revising everything for the unified docs, we standardized the specific elements and configuration to use for tables. Some legacy docs also had a tendency to over-document, including lengthy references that itemized information that was already listed in the product UI. We eliminated this type of content to make the docs as streamlined as possible. Internal and external links were presented in different ways in the standalone docs. We enforced standard verbiage for different types of XREF elements to make it clear to customers whether they were jumping to a different section of the same doc or to an external doc or web page. So as you can see from these various examples, we made practical use of conrefs, new data templates, and targeted adjustments to the use of data elements to bring a new level of order and consistency to the unified content. Challenge number 2, keeping up with the pace. This challenge is directly related to how each of the UES products is developed and managed. The customer sees a single browser-based console with various screens to manage different features, but behind the scenes, each product is developed, tested, and released by a different team, with regular releases occurring on different schedules. These releases typically involve cloud pushes to the management console, as well as new versions of desktop or mobile apps. This was easy to manage with standalone docs because you didn't have to worry about any other products. You could just update your docs and release whenever your product released. The frequency of the required doc updates presented a significant challenge. Across all of the different products, the unified doc set would see content updates of different sizes on regular intervals, almost on a bi-weekly basis. Certain weeks could also see multiple updates depending on release schedules. Coordinating those updates while ensuring the integrity of the shared docs, allowing for ongoing work, and keeping the content stable and reliable would be no small feat. Thankfully, the AEM CMS offers a versioning model that perfectly meets the demands of rapid release cycles and regular targeted updates. The AEM Guide's version model is based on the idea of granular control and customization. We save a revision of our topics and or maps when the content for a new release is ready to go public, and then we manage those changes using the baseline model. So what I'm actually going to show you in our system is the baseline or multiple baselines for one of our unified docs or one of the docs in the unified docs set, our administration guide. So you can see here the output. These are our final output formats, the layout of all of the topics in the guide, and the multiple baselines that we have on the map. This baseline design is perfect for a project like the Unified Docs set. Starting with our first release of the Unified Docs back in November 2021, we created an initial baseline for each map, which is a record of the version of each topic to use in your output. And we generated release content using those baselines. So you can see here the latest baseline of April 25th is the baseline that we've been using for our most recent output, our HTML and PDF output here. And for each subsequent release of the guide or each guide, we simply copy the previous baseline and then modify it to pick up new versions of topics as necessary. If topics have been added or removed or other map changes have occurred, we modify the baseline to pick up the new version of the map with those changes. So for example here, if I want to create a new baseline because I have a new update ready to go, I would select the most recent baseline of April 25th with all of its specific settings for the version of every topic to use. I would duplicate it, I would rename it. Let's say, for example, if I renamed it to May 10th, and I would give it a descriptive name to describe the release, let's say, for example, here, MTD 4.0, for example. I could then go through the baseline and then using the previous release that I copied from as a starting point, go through and set the versions of every topic to use as necessary. And obviously this column makes it much easier to tell for the version of every topic whether it's the latest or whether it's an older version. And I can intentionally set the versions of everything to include in the output. Now there are several benefits to using this copy and modify approach to baselines. Since you are copying from the previous baseline, not creating a fresh one, there's no risk of picking up a new version of a topic unintentionally. The UI makes it very clear which topics are set to the latest version and which are using an older version, so you have granular control over the content that you want to use in your PDF and HTML output. Writers can continue to work on and revise topics for future releases without their work or revisions putting the baselines at risk. Writers don't have to hold off on making changes to topics, as the baseline is a reliable gatekeeper. Baselines are also very useful for tracking and records. We name baselines with a date and a short description of the release, so just by looking at the available baselines, you can tell how often the doc has been updated and when it was generated and posted. Using baselines also offers very clear benefits for translation, which leads to our next challenge. Challenge number 3, optimize how we localize. Our initiative to create a unified doc set also coincided with the dev team's goal to translate the web console that UES customers use into multiple languages. This meant that we would also have to translate our UES content for the first time. Now, our team has been localizing docs for a very long time, but the UES product presented some unique challenges due to the frequent nature of the updates and the fact that so many products and features would constantly drive changes to the common doc set. Most products that we localized previously saw release cycles that were a few months apart, making it fairly easy to plan localization work. With UES seeing updates at least a few times per month, we had to develop a strategy that would allow us to deliver high-quality translated docs without disrupting ongoing work for the releases that were always in progress. Thankfully, the same baseline model that we leveraged to manage constant release cycles would also give us the means to localize our content in a practical way. The AEM CMS offers a baseline translation feature that allows you to select a map baseline and send the specific content set in that baseline for translation. We made the decision to kick off a localization cycle at a set time every 2 months, and we would use the most recent baseline available on the map at that time. Leveraging baseline translation on a set schedule would allow us to hit some key goals. We could kick off a translation run without disrupting work for upcoming releases. We didn't have to enforce content freezes or tell our writers to hold off on work, as the baseline would always be a reliable record that we could use for the translation export. In using a regular bi-monthly schedule, We hit a fine balance between keeping the localized docs up to date and constantly kicking off localization projects. A 2-month cycle also gave us the time we needed to complete proper QA reviews on localized content. For example, completing the work for localized images that we got back, conducting proofs, correcting links to make sure they hit the right destinations, and so on. In shaping the unified doc set, we also made some very conscious choices about our content to make it translation friendly. Our technical editor set specific standards for terminology, various types of terminology and various types of descriptions that would make the content easier to translate across languages. So, one of the many examples is the use of the word cyber threat. So, he specifically set out the standard to use it as two separate words with a space in between versus an abbreviated form or a combined form, because the use that he suggested is easier to translate into different languages. We avoided the inclusion of screenshots unless absolutely necessary to convey information beyond what was already contained in the text, as screenshots tend to introduce additional translation cost and maintenance issues, especially when you consider that the console would see many advancements and changes over the next calendar year. Our use of conrefs also proved valuable for localization purposes, as we could give the vendor specific direction to not translate conref objects that we used for product names. The benefits of baseline translation and the conscious choices we made in constructing our data content allowed us to develop an effective, efficient localization plan. Challenge number 4: ease the transition. The biggest challenge we faced didn't have much to do with the content itself, but with how external customers and internal teams, including support, sales, and customer engagement, were used to consuming it. The Silence content that we inherited was previously distributed via PDFs in a separate admin portal in combination with a series of KB articles. When we moved that content onto our docs.blackberry.com site, it was a significant shift for internal teams and customers to get used to. On top of that, all of these groups were accustomed to the individual docs for each product. On the previous business model BlackBerry and Silence were operating under, people were generally only concerned with one product at a time and were only interested in the content for that one product. The push for a unified product and a new all encompassing security solution was very new, and our team was one of the first in the company to really adopt that mindset and shape our content with that focus. To make UES successful, we couldn't continue using that same siloed approach to content, even though certain groups still wanted that. We had to think about the bigger picture, about how to get all of these groups thinking about UES as a holistic solution with ties and relationships between all of the different products and features that it includes. This, of course, is easier said than done. People generally aren't big fans of change, especially when it comes to product docs, as they just want material that they are familiar with and that they know how to navigate. To this end, we explored one of the key advantages and selling points of the AEM CMS to help bridge that transition from standalone to unified docs. One of the main reasons we made the move to the AEM CMS over 3 years ago was because it was offered as a plugin to a complete web platform, Adobe Experience Manager. In creating and launching our new site 3 years ago, we took full advantage of this benefit and constructed a site that combined generated data content for our docs with AEM web pages built using intuitive, user friendly web templates. We use these templates and the various AEM components that they offer to build attractive and easy to navigate landing pages, product pages, and other supporting resources that guide customers to generated data content. And I can show you kind of the end product of using those templates right now. So this is the landing page of our site, docs.blackberry.com, which we've created and maintain now using these intuitive AEM web templates. So as you can see here, we use an approach where everything is designed at the first level by selecting a block based on your product, right? So once you select the product that you are interested in, you simply click it, and that leads you to the what we call a product page for that product, which is effectively a landing page for that product where you start to engage with the docs and resources available for that product. And again, it uses that kind of block design where you can choose the document that you are interested in. Once you do that, you are now in the generated data content that we've produced from that map that I showed you earlier. So we decided to use these intuitive web templates to create new resources and pages that would help all of our audiences adapt to the unified docs. In constructing the product page for our new unified docs, we experimented with the use of an easy to understand introductory image as the first thing and the major thing that you engage with when you get to the product page. And we designed this image to use icons and brief descriptive text to answer a number of questions about the product right off the bat, including who uses it, administrators, end users, what it includes, iconography for all of the various products that it includes, what those products do, these short descriptions that clarify the actual function and value of the product, whether it be detection or response, continuous authentication, network access and protection, etc. Where they operate in the corporate infrastructure, whether it's at the browser level for admins, or the cloud or network level, or the mobile device and desktop level. And through the entire thing and the combination of these images and text and the overall layout, why all of these different pieces are valuable and useful. By using this image as the first touch point on the page and designing the page in this way, via the kind of freedom of these AEM web templates and web design options, we are telling the story of UES to brand new customers and also revealing to longtime customers the other parts of the UES package that are now available to them. Second, we wanted to provide a resource that offered a more direct correlation between the old docs and the new. We didn't completely reinvent the wheel in creating the content for the unified docs. We simply revised, reorganized, and refined to create docs that were more relevant and complete. The content that teams and customers wanted and were used to was still there, just available in a new and better form. To this end, we created what we call a navigation page that offers a mapping of the old docs to new. In a clean table format, it laid out where to find the relevant information for each product in a structure that mirrors the old standalone docs. So, for example, if you're a member of support or even a customer who's only concerned with the information about the BlackBerry Optics product, we've laid it all out here such that you can jump to the different sections of the unified doc set that are relevant to optics. So for example, you can jump to the conceptual content about optics, you can jump to the section about setting it up in the setup guide, and so on and so forth. And this navigation resource also gives us an avenue to provide guidance and to lead these customers in these different groups to the new unified resources, including overview information, release notes, requirements, and so on. So this resource offers one more way to condition our audience to the new world of unified product info. And the last example focuses on how we used our site structure to help new and existing customers find the right content. Two of the unified guides ended up being fairly large. The setup guide, clocking in at roughly 180 pages in PDF, and the admin guide coming in at around 100 pages. We weren't concerned with the length because we were confident in our data map structure and how we chose to arrange our topics, but we also knew that our audiences would appreciate an extra layer of guidance. To meet this goal, we established what we call middleman pages, which is what I'm showing on the screen here, which are AEM web pages that offer blocks of content that highlight the chapters of the guide. The purpose of this page is to allow the user to quickly scan the available segments of content, choose the one that they are interested in at that moment, and then jump to that specific section of the guide. So for example, if you are interested in creating UES administrator accounts, you can scan and visually scan and go through the setup page, see that specific block, and then click it. And now you are in that section of the guide with relevant links to each topic that it contains, including the task topic to create an admin account, the reference topic for assigning administrator permissions, and so on and so forth. Now, by taking advantage of the core AEM platform and the flexible web design components that it offers, we created supporting resources that eased the transition to the new docs and conditioned our audiences to take a big picture approach to the UES solution. challenge number 5, the final challenge. Make the docs part of the product. The final challenge we will cover today focuses on how we worked to make the docs an integral part of the product experience. I'm sure that every tech writer listening to this has heard the following feedback: I can't find the docs. In shaping the unified doc set, we wanted to make some key changes to the product so that any user could find the specific content that they needed right when they needed it. UES uses a browser based console that allows IT admins to manage the various products and features in their environment. The console was originally designed to manage the Protect desktop product, but over the years was expanded with new screens to manage additions to the product suite. What the console always lacked was a clear connection point to the customer docs. Throughout the console, there was nothing to let customers know where the product docs were or how to use them. While planning the unified docs, we worked with development to propose the inclusion of context sensitive help within the UES console. It was an initiative that our team had had much success with in other products, but this would be the most ambitious version of it. In a nutshell, this is what we proposed. Every screen in the console would include a help icon in the top right of the UI that, when clicked, would direct to a static URL. That static URL would be a redirect that our writers would be able to create, maintain, and update at any time in AEM. And it would redirect the user to the UES docs content that was specific to that screen. And what I'd actually like to do very briefly is to show you that in action. So I'll log in here to the console in one of our internal environments. Just do a quick authentication here with a sample account. And it will jump to a page that has the context sensitive help experience in the top right corner. Hopefully it doesn't spin for too long. There we go. So here's a screen for assets mobile devices. This is where you can view mobile devices that use a specific UES feature. And you can see here the top right corner has this help icon, which is now contained on nearly every screen in the console. And behind each help icon is a unique static URL that, when clicked, will jump you to the specific docs topic via a redirect that our team manages that gives you the targeted task content or whatever is the most relevant content for that specific screen. The help experience is the same regardless of the back-end design differences on the development side. And the help link will always land you in the right context that will help customers for that specific screen. Thanks to quite a bit of diligence and many dev tickets, we were ultimately successful in our goal. The live console now features a help link on almost every screen, and the remaining outliers should get resolved in the coming months. We consider this to be a huge accomplishment. Not only can our customers access help at the moment of need from within the product, but this will also allow them to build more familiarity with our doc set and understand the help resources that we make available to them at all times. Lastly, there's one other change that we are working on implementing right now that also serves the goal of intrinsically linking the product UI to the docs. The UES console includes a built-in how-to guide as basic strings in a section of the UI, which is what I've thrown on screen here. So you can see here it's a fairly simple built-in help design whereby you click on items on the left and it displays strings on the right. Now, offering help strings within the UI makes the content hard to maintain because it demands the creation of a development ticket every time you want to make a change. On top of that, the content is a bit out of date and lacking that new unified solution focus. Now, to us in Docs, the answer to this was clear. Adopt a more modern help model by taking those strings out of the console and replacing them with a new UES console overview, which is what I've shown on screen here, that we could offer on our Docs website, once again designed and created using our AEM web templates. And in this case, we take advantage of some nice accordion components available in AEM to mimic that same type of design whereby you click something in the left and it displays dynamically content on the right. And we effectively redesign the resource to mimic the latest UI and to give more information and more detailed information about all of the different screens and what you can do with them. Now, this new resource offers many advantages. We could expand the content to address every UES product and feature. The console could simply link to this resource, which docs would own and update in step with every single release. We could update it at any time, unencumbered by sprint processes or code reviews. And the main goals of this resource would be number one, to clarify the purpose of every screen in the console, and number two, it would include links to the official UES docs for complete information. It would serve as yet another way to drive customers to our valuable data content. This ongoing effort, along with the work we have already done and continue to do with context sensitive help, will both contribute to my career dream of never having to hear, "I can't find the docs" ever again. So, in conclusion, the features of the AEM Guides CMS and its tight integration with the core AEM platform provided us with the tools, freedom, and flexibility to answer the many challenges we faced in rebuilding our content to meet the needs of the business and our customers. Before we move on to the live Q&A, I just wanted to share my email and LinkedIn on the screen. Please feel free to connect with me. I always enjoy chatting and comparing notes with my fellow tech writers. And a very sincere thank you to everyone who is kind enough to take the time to attend my session today. I very much look forward to speaking to some of you in the live Q&A. Thank you.